The rumors surrounding the possible trade of Elias Pettersson continue to swirl around the Vancouver Canucks, and the New York Islanders are one of the teams that have been mentioned. But what would Pettersson add to the Islanders lineup? What will it take to get him? What are the chances it'll happen? We're going to talk about that and a lot more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
You're Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win or lose that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We have got a lot to discuss on today's show. The big story right now, one of the big stories around the National Hockey League, is the feud in Vancouver between Elias Pettersson, JT Miller. We believe the Canucks may try to trade one or both. They may basically try to keep them both and say, guys, you got to get along. But a lot of rumors out there right now concerning Pettersson and whether or not he could be traded. And if he is traded, to where and for what. So the Islanders are one of the teams that have been mentioned in these rumors. And we'll see, there's a lot to sort of break down with the Elias Pettersson situation. So let's begin with this. Let's talk about the player, Elias Pettersson. Now, keep in mind, right now, Pettersson is on injured reserve. He has been placed on IR retroactive to December 23rd with an undisclosed injury. And, as a result, he's not in the lineup right now. And, he scored 2 goals in that game back on December 23rd, but has not played since then. And originally was listed as day-to-day. Now, Pettersson is 6'2", but only about 175 to 180 pounds. He's a left-handed shot, and he is a center. He is a native of Sweden, and he was the 5th overall pick by the Canucks, 5th overall pick in the draft, first round, by Vancouver back in 2017. He is 26, having just turned 26 November 12th. So here is a guy who certainly would give the New York Islanders a team that is younger and more skilled than what they've got right now. And, one scouting report on Pettersson basically called him a creative playmaker who knows how to get the puck to his teammates in prime scoring position. He is an excellent play driver. He keeps the puck moving in the right direction whenever he's on the ice. And he's very dangerous on the power play, both as a passer and as a shooter. Strength, however, continues to be a big issue. He must add muscle to avoid injuries and keep from getting pushed off the puck. And they described him as an elite offensive forward when healthy. He won the Calder Trophy as the NHL's Rookie of the Year back in 2018, 2019, when he scored 66 points in 71 games. For his NHL career, we are talking about a point-per-game player. He's played in 441 games. He has 180 goals, 260 assists, 440 points. He is a plus 53 and has basically, been a very impressive player offensively, especially. His best season by far, 2022, 2023. 39 goals, 63 assists. That's 102 points in 80 games. This season, so far, he's struggling by his own standards, at least. 10 goals, 28 points in 34 games. Now, keep in mind, 10 goals as of right now would place him tied for fourth on the Islanders with Brock Nelson. 28 points would put him third on the Islanders, only behind Anders Lee and Bo Horvat. And Lee has played 40 games, Horvat 39. So that gives you an idea of some of the offensive jump or juice that he could bring to the lineup. Keep in mind as well that, and I mentioned his lack of size as far as strength and heaviness, he is not particularly good in the face-off circle. For his career, he is a 45.2% face-off guy. His best season was last year, 2023-2024, when he had a 50.8% face-off win rate. And that is the only season out of the 7 years he's been in the NHL thus far, 6 plus half of this year, where he won more faceoffs than he lost. This year, he's back down to 45.7% percent winning on the draw. And we know the Islanders value those faceoffs, but I don't think that is going to be the major obstacle as far as, getting him lined up and signed. But you got to figure out a couple of other things. One of them, obviously, is the cap hit. And let's face it, the cap hit is a big deal. And you're not just going to be able to, add the $11.6 million cap hit that goes along with Pettersson, and he has 7 years left on his deal and a full no trade clause. So again, you're locking yourself into a long-term deal that, is going to be a lot of money, even if the cap goes up, even if, all of the projections are true. Still talking a pretty hefty chunk of money. He would be by far the highest paid player on the Islanders if he were to join the Islanders organization. Now, with 7 more years left, he's still only going to be 33, going on 34 when this contract ends. So, if you get him, you are essentially locking up a player for the remainder of his prime. He's, what did I say, 26? So you get him from 26 to 34, 33, 34. That's, prime years, maybe the last couple of years of the contract, he could start to slow down. And you kind of wonder about his longevity in the league because of that lack of strength, because of that lack of size. Does he wear down faster? That has to be a concern somewhere in the back of your head if you want to make that long-term commitment. Now, one other factor that you have to address. Obviously, one of the reasons that he is on the block is the feud he's allegedly having, that the locker room in Vancouver is divided between Miller and Pettersson. You got to do your due diligence here. Is he a good teammate? Is he somebody who would be a problem in the locker room? And, you say what you want about the Islanders locker room. I have not heard about very many players having spats in the Islanders locker room. This team may even be too comfortable and too happy with each other at times you've heard a lot of critics call the Islanders a country club atmosphere. And look, I'm not in the locker room, but I understand why people say that. So I guess you got to do a little due diligence. And Bo Horvat did not seem to have any issues. He seemed to think that Pettersson would be, he'd love to play with Pettersson again if the Islanders were to acquire him. So that's encouraging. But I think, if you're the Islanders, you do have to ask around, speak to some people who have played with him, whether it's in, overseas, whether it's with the Canucks, whether it's as he was, growing up. Got to find out, what kind of guy is he in the locker room? Because, again, if you're investing in a guy who's making more than $11 million a year, you don't want to then introduce all kinds of other problems into your locker room because the guy's a bad teammate or doesn't play well with others or whatever the case may be. And again, I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm just saying do your due diligence and find out. So that's who Elias Pettersson is. Those are the skills he brings to the table, and that is the cost, salary cap wise, of where, how it would affect the Islanders. Now, the Canucks could always retain some salary, but I don't know if the Islanders really want to go that route. We'll see. We have got more about Elias Pettersson coming up. What would it take to get him? Where would he fit into the Islanders lineup? And is it worth making that potential deal? And what are the odds that a deal actually even takes place? We'll have that. We'll wrap up the World Juniors and gold medal winners Cole Eiserman and Danny Nelson. And for our Islanders birthday of the day, this is an easy one. He's a current Islander who's going to turn 25 today. And he is the team's most productive offensive defenseman. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's right, $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. And hey, Islander fans, it's not just the NFL playoffs. You can use your knowledge of hockey and of the Islanders for some exciting opportunities at FanDuel. Head on over to FanDuel and check out the odds for Thursday's game against the Vegas Golden Knights. Visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So we mentioned the rumors that Pettersson may be available for trade, that the Islanders were one of the teams. And how do we break this down? What would it take for the New York Islanders to acquire Elias Pettersson? Now, we already mentioned Pettersson himself has a full no-trade clause. So obviously, one obstacle is Pettersson has to waive that no-trade clause and agree to go to, in this case, hopefully, the Islanders. So would he do that? Not sure. There are some other Swedes on this team. Maybe, just maybe, that is a little bit of an encouragement. But again, what would it take? So the Canucks are reportedly interested in adding a second-line center. And that's one of the things they would need, especially if they're going to trade away Pettersson. The Islanders, as you know, have Brock Nelson, who is going to be an unrestricted free agent this summer, unless the Islanders somehow sign him to an extension. And we've heard rumors that the Islanders actually, that Nelson wants to test the free agent waters. Now, his agent could be saying that to try to get the Islanders to come to the bargaining table, but and everydayers may remember, we discussed this last month, that if I'm Brock Nelson and I'm 33, 34 years old, this is my last chance to cash in my NHL career. Yeah, if I can get a 5-year deal at the age of 33, 34, that's my last big contract. I may be able to sign a 1-year deal or a couple of 1-year deals, but then you're going at, okay, he's the veteran, we're going to add him, but it's not going to be, top of market kind of a thing. So you want Brock Nelson to be on your team. If you're Brock Nelson, you want to cash in, okay? You want to test the waters, fine. You want to cash in. There's two alternatives to cashing in and testing the waters. Number one is you re-sign with the Islanders, which means the Islanders will have to pony up term and, cash per year in order to compensate Nelson for not testing the free agent waters. And the other alternative is that you trade him and he signs with, let's say, the Vancouver Canucks, if you were to deal him for Elias Pettersson. So that's one possibility, but it's going to take more than just Brock Nelson to get the job done. There are two other players who the Canucks are allegedly interested in. Number one, Casey Cizikas, who would be able to give Vancouver some depth in the forward position in their bottom six. He is certainly somebody who could add a little physicality and what have you. And let's face it, Cizikas making $2.5 million a year. He's signed for 2 more seasons after this year. And, he's not producing a lot offensively. So, yeah, it's almost a salary dump for the Islanders if they can get either Cizikas or possibly Pierre Engvall or the other guy who more realistically the Canucks are interested in is Noah Dobson. And that's a very interesting situation. Now, Philip Hronek, Quinn Hughes, both injured. And those are the two best defensemen on the Canucks. So in the short run, you fill that desperate need the Canucks have by adding Noah Dobson. In the long run, you would then have, assuming Hronek and Hughes stay healthy, Dobson, Hronek, and Hughes, 3 outstanding defensemen to build your blue line around. Dobson, as we all know, young. Dobson, as we all know, a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. So again, from a Vancouver standpoint, they don't want rentals, according to all the information and the sources that I have examined. So, Brock Nelson, if he's in the deal, probably would have to negotiate an extension up front. And Noah Dobson probably would have to negotiate an extension. Now, the Canucks would then have his RFA rights, and they would have the right to go to arbitration with him, maybe sign a bridge deal before you sign that big deal. And look, Dobson is having an off year right now, but Dobson and Nelson is a pretty steep price to pay for Pettersson. You may also have to throw in a draft pick. Maybe you can get them to take Cizikas or Engvall, but again, Brock Nelson has a modified no-trade clause. Does he want to go to Vancouver? Would he waive it if Vancouver is not one of the teams on his list that he's willing to go to? Would the salary cap money work out? There are a lot of obstacles involved. I will say this. If you pressured me and said to me, do you think this deal is going to get done? My answer would be probably not, because I don't know that Pettersson would waive his no trade clause, that Nelson would waive his, that Lou would even think about trading Noah Dobson, even though he is struggling this year as compared to last. That the cap situation could all work out. It would also probably mean you would have to deal Kyle Palmieri at the trade deadline, which the Islanders probably should do anyway. There are a lot of moving parts. And the other thing that fits into the equation, in my mind, is that you got to outbid all these other teams who are going to want Pettersson in a trade. So whether it's the Rangers or whether it's the Red Wings or whether it's, another, I would assume the Canucks would prefer to send him to the Eastern Conference, all things being equal. But whichever team it is, you've got to put the best package together in order for the Canucks to pull the trigger on the deal with the Islanders. So I would say the odds of the Islanders acquiring Pettersson are 20% at best, maybe 15%. It's intriguing. It certainly would shake this team up, add a little offensive firepower, change the chemistry in the locker room. Would it add more accountability? Maybe. You would certainly be eliminating one of your unrestricted free agents, maybe some salary, maybe one of your restricted free agents if Dobson is a part of the deal. But the cost is going to be high, and it's not just high as far as the salary cap, but it's high as in what you've got to give up in order to make the deal work. So the Islanders are in as far as the rumors go. They are mentioned as a potential suitor. I don't think they're the favorites, but this is something we're going to keep an eye on here every day on the Locked On Islanders podcast. And if there is new news, we will certainly give it to you right here and on Twitter as well. We have got more to get to on today's show. We'll wrap up the U.S. gold medal winning team at the World Juniors. Cole Eiserman, Danny Nelson, both on that winning team. We'll talk about that. We also have our Islanders birthday of the day. All that still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Did Rocket Money help you find subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? Well, that definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app. It helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings together everything in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. For me, I love the subscription tracker. I used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from our hosts, Steele and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So the Islanders had two players on Team USA, which on Sunday ended up winning the gold medal with a 4-3 overtime win over Finland. Congratulations to Cole Eiserman and Danny Nelson. Jesse Nurmi, by the way, earned a silver medal, so another Islanders prospect involved there. Nelson, who was an alternate captain, by the way, for Team USA, had 4 goals and 2 assists over the course of the tournament, and he played a little more than 16 minutes in the gold medal winning game. Meanwhile, Eiserman, he was in the lineup for 9.5 minutes, 9:34 on Sunday. He had 3 goals and 4 assists at the World Juniors. Now, Nurmi had an assist on Finland's first goal. He had 3 points in the tournament, a goal and 2 assists. This was his first World Juniors. And Marcus Gidloff, who played for Sweden, and they ended up falling to Czechia in the bronze medal game, so they did not earn a medal. But Gidloff made 30 saves on 32 shots in the one game he played. So a solid performance there. And again, the thing about World Juniors, the players that are in this tournament are usually 2, 3, 4 years away. Only a very select handful are immediately going to play in the NHL. But to have your prospects, to have that many prospects in the World Juniors is a definite plus. It's been a while since the Islanders have had this many highly regarded prospects even participating. And then to have Eiserman and Nelson especially play as well as they did. Everydayers, we spoke yesterday about how Cole Eiserman was the 13th forward, played mostly on the power play with an occasional fill-in shift, 5-on-5, but he accepted his role and played it to the hilt. All of this is very, very good. A good sign. His teammates respected him. His coaches appreciated his attitude and his approach. And obviously his shot remains a lethal weapon. So hopefully he continues to play well as he heads back, to college for the rest of this season, and that his development continues to be good. Danny Nelson, again, playing really well, probably a little bit further along in his development right now than Cole Eiserman, but we'll keep an eye on both of those players throughout the rest of this college season, and we'll see what happens to them once the college season is over, as, again, these are 2 of the top 5 or 6 prospects in the Islanders organization. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. This is an easy one, but today is the 25th birthday of Islanders defenseman Noah Dobson, the Summerside PEI native, 6'4", 200 pounds, 12th overall pick in the 2018 NHL entry draft by the Islanders. Made his NHL debut in 2019-2020. The Islanders brought him along slowly. In his first season, he played 34 games. But each year after that, he just continued to grow his game. And his best season in the NHL by far last year, 10 goals, 70 points in 79 games. This year, halfway through the season, he's only on pace for 41 points over an 82-game schedule. He has 5 goals, 15 assists, and 12 penalty minutes through the first 40 games. Hopefully he can pick things up in the second half of the year. One of his best games as an Islander, how about January 11th, 2024, Islanders hosting the Maple Leafs. Martin Jones, the goalie for Toronto, Ilya Sorokin, the netminder for the Islanders. And in this game, the Islanders break out to a 1-0 lead on a goal by Kyle Palmieri, primary assist, Noah Dobson. Then the Islanders fall behind 3-1, but in the second period, only 4 minutes in, Noah Dobson sets up Alexander Romanov, Matthew Barzal with the other assist, and it's 3-2. Late in the second period, Islanders on the power play. Again, Barzal and Dobson assist on a goal, this time by Bo Horvat. And then 21 seconds into overtime, Noah Dobson sets up Matthew Barzal for the game winner. The Islanders beat the Maple Leafs by a score of 4-3. 32 saves for Ilya Sorokin in a game the Islanders were outshot 32-30. But for Noah Dobson, 4 assists on all 4 goals by the Islanders. He had 2 shots on goal and played 26 minutes and 1 second. He had a hand in every goal the Islanders scored, as did Matthew Barzal, who had a goal and 3 assists. But Noah Dobson, current Islanders defenseman, he is our Islanders birthday of the day. I want to thank everybody who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow on the show, we'll have our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders. Plus, we hope to have some injury updates. The Islanders did not provide any on Monday, but hopefully we'll have some injury updates on Hudson Fasching, Semyon Varlamov, Simon Holmstrom, and we'll see where all of these guys are and when they will be back. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I'm live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. Have a great day, everybody, and thanks for listening to and watching the Locked On Islanders podcast.